everyone, and welcome to The Well-Educated Artist. I'm Miranda, and I am so glad that you could be here today because I am very excited. It's finally fall in the state of Texas. We've had 110-degree weather all summer long, and finally we're getting some cooler weather in the 80s and 90s. So to celebrate fall, we're going to be doing a fall project. It's going to be a three-part project. First, we're going to pour paint the background, and then second, we're going to be making really cool acrylic skin leaves. And then third, we're going to put it all together. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my mascara in my hair to keep it out of the way. And let's get started. Okay, to make the background for this painting, we're going to be using a few colors here. This is a turquoise. And this one is Viridian from Master's Touch, which is just a lighter color. You actually could add white to turquoise and do this as well. These are mixed with Floetrol and water, and actually they're also mixed this time because I needed a certain consistency with Liquitex as well, Liquitex acrylic medium. And we have a light yellow and the primary yellow from Liquitex Basics, which you can just add white, titanium white, to the Liquitex Basics primary yellow and get a lighter color. So we're just doing variations. So the two lighter colors and then the two darker colors. Now we're going to be doing a kiss pour. So I'm going to need 2 cups and I'm going to layer them the way I layer them for a kiss. I layer my paints in a certain way by kind of creating a split cup effect. So you could technically do a split cup with 2 compartments, but I do mine a certain way. You don't need a split cup because I want more of an appearance of clouds or a background that has sort of an ethereal quality. And so this is how I do it. So I'll show you what I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 colors. I'm going to go ahead and move this off. And I'm going to pour them side by side. And you can take out your pour sticks, which I probably should do because they're annoying. So what I'm going to do is just pour them together, kind of like you're doing a kiss pour, because we are going to be doing a kiss pour. So just like this. I don't have quite as much blue, so that's why I'm having to do what I'm doing here. Kind of finish up my turquoise blue. Okay, so now that we have this split cup made, we can now move on to the next split cup. So I'll move this one out of the way. And I'll just put this one right here. And I'm going to go ahead and pour the next cup. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our kiss for this background. As you can see, they're very similar, but yet they're different. And I'll be honest with you, there is some interference gold mixed in with the lighter yellow. So I'm not sure how that's going to pan out today. So I'm actually going to pour them side by side with the light yellow to the light and to the dark yellow. Okay. And I'm going to squeeze these just a tad. Good enough for what we're doing. This is plenty of paint, so I'm not so concerned. Let's go ahead and pop some bubbles. Looks like we're gonna get a few cells, which is not my intention, but sometimes that happens. Let's go ahead and let's go for a tilt here. Any leftover paint, you of course can make skins with. Get off some of that turquoise. I want some light blue shining through. Here's our painting from yesterday. It is dry. It's not exactly what I want, but I'm going to work with it. You never know what you're going to get. I wish that it had lighter colors, and I could paint it. But what I'm going to try to do first is I'm going to be using some interference gold. This is Pearl X Interference Gold, and this is what I'm going to use. And this is mixed like your bloom. So when I bloom paint, this is Bare 8300 and Varnish, but you can put it in other gel mediums. It really could be in any medium where this will work. So I'm going to go ahead and take it and I'm going to paint it on. We'll see what happens. Interference colors are just really, really subtle colors. And I did not get the movement I would have liked to see with this canvas. My varnish is a water-based varnish that is in this paint, so that is why I'm able to use a little bit of water. It's Joe Sonia. I feel like I need more. If you swipe too many times with the varnish in it, it'll start to raise up. So I'm not going to do too many more swipes. Just fix where it has raised a little bit right there that I see. But I think that's going to give it some character. So I'm going to quit. I'm going to let this dry. If I want to add more, I can add more later. So you may not be able to see it, but it adds a nice kind of shine and a feeling like sun coming through. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to clean up my brush and we'll let this dry and I will show you what to do next. Okay, the next thing that I do is I make a template. Now these are hand-drawn templates because I want a certain kind of leaf. We're going for falling leaves. So I have drawn out my own template, but you can find templates for leaves on the internet. And this is an example. If you can't draw, that's fine. You can get leaves from, this is from onelittleproject.com, and I can put a link to that down below. There are plenty of leaf templates that you can get out there if you are not so inclined artistically, or you can get a leaf straight off the tree this in the fall and you can trace around it. So there are other ways to make templates, but this is the leaves that I have drawn, and what I'm going to do is just take my pair of scissors right here and cut those out. Now I have already done that. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I have already cut out my leaves. They're not the best cut job, but here they are. All kinds of little leaves, different ways, different sizes. And you can just repeat these, and you can have any kind of leaf that you want. Most of mine are just maple leaves, and this is a falling maple leaf. Very simplistic silhouettes. So now that you have these, you're going to need your acrylic skins. Now, if you're not familiar with acrylic skins, they are basically just acrylic paint. Usually it's thinned down with Floetrol. It can just be thinned down with water, but generally Floetrol and water are used. And this became a really big deal when the pour painting community had lots of leftover paint. What to do with that paint? It's very wasteful. So what to do with it? So you make things. If you haven't seen my other videos, you can see my videos on how to make acrylic skins if you don't already have acrylic skins, if you're not a pour painter, or if you have really ugly acrylic skins, which tends to happen when you're pour painting. So you can see those videos. I have several videos on how to make acrylic skins, how to make blinged out acrylic skins, how to make glow-in-the-dark skins, and so forth, and projects that you can do with them, just like this project. So check those out. Okay, so now that we have our leaves, let me show you some of the skins. So here are some skins that I have made. So some in the color palette of fall. This is an older skin that I made. You can see there's some paint sticking to it, but I'm looking for colors of yellow, orange, brown. And this is the time when you have ugly skins. If you're a pour painter, you've made some questionable skins. This is the time you pull out those questionable skins left over from your Christmas pour painting that kind of went wrong. And this is the time you can use those skins. These make great leaves. So when you've got those questionable red skins, which is the ones I tend to have, this is the time those gobbledygookity skins tend to work. So these are just some examples of some skins that you can use and that I will be using. And all you need to do, and this is the tray, I tend to make mine on freezer paper, or I make them on silicone, like the mat that you see here. And I put them on a tray so I can move them. So check out my videos that tell you exactly how to make these skins if you're interested. I'm going to use this skin to show you what to do. Now you can draw on a skin freehand, absolutely fine. You can just cut it out. If you're so inclined, go for it. But I'm going to use my templates. And so what I'm going to do is just lay my leaf down. And this one's going to be kind of special because I have got a folded piece of the leaf here because the leaf is falling, and that's going to need probably a separate piece. But I'm going to go ahead and treat this like this is exactly what I'm going to be using. And all you need is a pen or a pencil will work. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to the other side. And with this kind of skin, this is a bloom skin, they're not pretty on both sides. So since they're not so pretty, I'm just going to go ahead and do it from this direction. Try to make sure that it's the piece that you want to be part of that skin, but it'll be easier to see. On the bloom skins, the backs are usually white unless you're using black as your base. So it's just easier to do, and all you have to do is what I'm going to do is trace around so that you can cut. Now you can leave these on freezer paper. You also can cut these straight away with an exacto knife. If you have a template that can withstand cutting around the knife, or you have a very steady hand and you can cut around with an exacto knife, then go ahead and do that. But I don't have the steadiest of hand, and I prefer to use scissors for this. You can use little surgical scissors or just plain old craft scissors. Nice and sharp for this. You also can put a layer of varnish or diamond glaze, which I use quite a bit if you've watched any of my videos. I'm a big diamond glaze fan. You can diamond glaze this, and this will protect it and make it easier to cut, especially if you have skins that are sticky. These kinds of skins, because this is a bloom skin, is not particularly sticky, but a regular pour painted skin, especially one made with Floetrol and water, it will be fairly sticky if it's new. So just be aware of that, your leaves will stick to each other, and just put them on something like freezer paper so that they don't stick to one another. Just a heads up in case you're not familiar with skins when you're doing this project. This is kind of a messy outline because I'm talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing. It's easier to do with a pen, I'll be honest with you, but I'm just using a pencil. This is actually one of my acrylic skin pencils. That's another video that I did. It's wrapped with an acrylic skin. So you can have a fancy pencil, or your kids can have a fancy pencil if they don't use the mechanical pencils like my daughter likes to use, like these. You probably can cover them too, but not this particular type. The simpler ones you can. Okay. Okay, so once you have your basic shape, and you don't have to trace in these, you actually can make them out of something else, the stems, but I'm going to have to trace them because I want to make sure that my stems go in the right places. So once you have your outline, here's where the fun begins. You can start cutting these out. Now it is easier to leave them on something like freezing paper. This one was made on a silicone mat, so I can't cut through the silicone mat. I like to reuse my silicone mat, so I am just going to take my scissors, and this is just how easy it is to cut. You're just going to cut right around your leaf. It's kind of like cutting a placemat. That's how I think about it when cutting something like this. It might even be easier. I'm going to cut off the excess. We don't want the excess on there. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it out where it's not flopping so much. That does waste skins to do it this way, but it makes it simpler for me. Okay, that way I can move the skin out of the way And normally I would trace all my leaves onto different skins first, but just since I'm sharing with you today, I am making sure that I am doing it this way. Now I'm not going to bore you with the cutout. I'm just going to show you the finished product. I'm not going to just sit here and work for however many minutes it takes me to do this. So, okay, so here is my leaf, and probably my main leaf for my painting. If you've noticed here, I have cut my template where I had the leaf with the fold upward, and I have just used a contrasting color, but still a color within the palette of this leaf to make it look like it is going to be a floating leaf. And I will change the stem out so that it will look like the stem of a leaf. So that's one leaf. Now there are lots more leaves to go. Okay, so here are our leaves. Now, who knew it would take so long to cut them out, because there's lots and lots of little corners on that to cut out, but here they are. And you've noticed that I've changed out some of the stems or covered them up, and I just used a little piece of my Christmas skin that I showed you earlier. It has a lot of brown where the red and the green have kind of modeled together, and hey, it works out for this. I didn't change out all of the stems, but I did change out some of the stems. So it's not too matchy-matchy. Okay, so now we need to arrange our leaves onto our background. Okay, so here is our background. It dried in just a few minutes. And so we have our light, I don't know if you can see it coming down, and this is going to be our background. So I'm going to start by placing my first leaf, which is my biggest one. I don't want to do it quite dead center, but I do want to have it where it looks like it's floating down. So I'm going to add the stem, just like that. I just want to get them in place. Okay. Now I just need to get the rest of them in place. Okay, so once we have these all in place and they're the way we want them to be, we can now stick them down. Now this is the time, if you have left freezer paper on the back like this one has, it's time to go ahead and remove that. It comes right off. Pretty black leaf too, look at that. And that would have been interesting, but I'm gonna let it go ahead and contrast with all the brightness. I want something bright and happy as we move into fall. I believe these already have the paper taken off. Okay, so all we have to do now is stick these things to the canvas. To do that, you have some alternatives. You can use a diamond glaze. You can use gloss varnish of any kind that you have. This one is water-based. And E6000. So these are some options that you can use. You also can use paint. So choose your option and stick it down. Okay, I'm just going to take a little bit of diamond glaze and use a popsicle stick and put it on the back of my leaves. I'm just going to pull them up just a little bit. They're going to stick somewhat if you've painted your surface anyway, so now they really will stick. Should be able to peel it back up. Stick the stems down so that you can varnish or resin over it. You don't want glue sticking out, even though diamond glaze will dry clear. So I'm just going to do this for all of my leaves, and then I'll be good to go. Okay, now that it's all attached, all it needs to be done is glazed or resined, and you'll have a beautiful fall painting. I'll show you a close-up right now. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Leave your comments below. So glad you could join me today. Bye now.